The lightning flash left Jon night-blind, but he glimpsed the hurtling shadow half a heartbeat before he heard the shriek. The first then died as the old man had, blood gushing from his torn throat.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate. Joining me, as always, is my brother Zach.
Yo!
That's you, dude.
I have clicky buttons
That's my sweater.
on your sweater that I just nabbed because I've been at your house today and it's chilly. And I didn't have a sweater, and I like the buttons, so I'm probably going to be doing that a lot. So if you hear this and it claps, I'm sorry, but it's just me buttoning and unbuttoning.
Don't do that.
It's a Batman sweater.
If you've joined us before, you know that we are full spoiler, but this is your extra warning that we're going to talk about the whole series and not pull any punches. So go away if you're against that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to think if there's anything new and noteworthy. Thanksgiving obviously was just held here in America, and there was some division on Twitter because people were being mean to George.
Again.
Leave George alone. We love
idiots.
George.
Thank you, George, for your kind words during the holiday weekend.
But yeah, no, hope everybody's Thanksgiving was good. If you celebrated and had some nice dinner with the family, it was nice and quiet here. But that's why this episode's a little late on coming. Thanksgiving week was a little crazy, and so here we are. We're sitting down with Jon 5. Last episode we were reading Bran 3, of course. Bran arrived at Queen's Crown, along with Meera, Jojen, and Hodor, of course.
And Jon and the wildlings and the old
Well,
man.
that happens here.
I know.
Chill. Slow your fucking roll.
I'm just saying.
And Bran, Meera, and Jojen made it out to the center holdfast in the lake and shored up there, spying the lone man, the old man.
Oh, shocker. And the wildlings. Oh, spoiler. Watch out. Anyway.
He's in that kind of mood today, I guess, people. Sorry. So, Bran wargs into Hodor and calms him down, and it's scary,
Reaching.
Meera isn't really sure what the fuck's happening. Bran's not really sure what the fuck's happening.
Hodor's not really sure what the fuck's happening.
Hodor's definitely not sure what's happening. And then Bran wargs into Summer to kind of check out what's happening as Summer is down in the village.
And what does Summer find?
Summer smells fear.
And men.
And men. Wildling men.
What?
Spoiler. Shut the fuck up, Nathan.
And with that, we open on Jon and the wildlings.
Last we left Jon, we are reading Jon 5. Jon 4, Jon, Ygritte, Jarl, and the Magnarr Thens all scaled the wall, motherfucker.
Yeah, dude.
Made their way up like it ain't no thing, just
Except
how you do.
Except for the ones that didn't.
Except for the ones who fell, but like, pour
slide.
one out, moving on, we're wildlings, you know. Burn the bodies, respect the dead. Bring out your dead. I don't really like Monty Python. Ooh, that's probably sacrilege to admit and throw out there.
Wow.
Not a big Monty Python fan. I'm going to stick with it.
The Brotherhood is split on this, so.
Oh, you are? Oh, God.
I enjoy it.
That explains so much.
Come on. Are you kidding me?
Okay. So, yeah. So, Jon and the wildlings had made it on top of the wall and were able to now proceed south into the gift.
And then to the new gift.
So, Jon 5. Here we go. Strap in.
The wildlings and Jon.
Oh my God, he's still doing it.
Arrive in Queen's Crown, and they're traveling. Ygritte and Jon are kind of off on their own, just wandering ahead of the line.
So yes, elephant in the room. We're going to be talking about this whole episode. This episode and the last chapter, Bran, are
heavily connected.
Synchronized.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting that George starts with they're in the wet, rainy woods, and they've come upon a hill with yet another round tower, ancient and empty. And we get almost the exact same descriptions that we just got, but from Jon's, and Jon is a very different focal point from which these stories come.
Right. He's older. The knowledge
we get a little more history, factual history, as opposed to scary representations of, like, he straight up notes Queen Alysanne was fucking bored of the proceedings at Winterfell. There was nothing for her.
So she came around.
And so she rode off on her dragon because, you know, that's what one does. But yeah, it's a much different lens. And again, to Jon, it ain't no thing. These watchtowers are run-down, abandoned watchtowers in
whatever.
the gift. Like, yeah, okay, but...
He gives, again, a bit more detail than Bran did on how the gift was obtained and the men, the Night's Watch, how they couldn't sustain it any longer, which is actually, I think, funny, because I think we got more information about the Night's Watch and sustaining the wall, or sustaining the gift, than Jon, who talks about the people of the land more than...
that it was farmed.
Than the actual Watch's involvement.
Because Ygritte's pretty stupefied by it. She's like, who built it? Some king? Like, it's so actually kind of endearing, and... Jon's like, no, like, whoever lived here, probably like a farmhand or something, and Ygritte calls it a castle, and Jon's like, you should see fucking Winterfell, there's towers 3 times this, and she's like, you need giants, you couldn't do it.
You're fucking lying, are you kidding me? No.
Jon's like, well, some people say that Bran the Builder.
Well, he doesn't say it, he thinks
it, yeah, because he doesn't want to confuse her. Fuck you, Jon. Jon pisses me off in this chapter.
Right. Like,
he is so...
condescending,
patronizing to Ygritte. Yeah. Oh, I forget how wildly you are. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Let's get there.
She says some awesome words. I don't know if it's here yet, but when we get there, we'll get there.
Jon wishes
men owning the land.
He could show Ygritte Winterfell. Give her a flower from the glass gardens. Feast her in the great hall. Show her the stone kings on their throne. Bathe in the hot pools. Well,
maybe soon.
Battle is sex to Jaime Lannister, so, show and love beneath the heart tree while the old gods watched over us. I think it's interesting that in all the things he wants to do, he wants to show Ygritte the Stone Kings on their thrones, which means he wants to take her to the crypts, a place that he is not fond of entering at all. And so I think this is heavily, heavily important because... the very next line is, "'Tis a sweet dream, but Winterfell would never be his to show. He's a Snow, not a Stark. Bastard, Oathbreaker, and Turncloak." So the whole, going into the crypts, showing Ygritte that, is part of a bigger wanting to be worthy of inheriting Winterfell.
Right.
Of actually being a Stark, of having a reason, a purpose to go down into the crypts and not be terrified, as we know he is. He has horrible dreams of walking around an empty Winterfell and knowing he's got to go down into the crypts. And it's just that this is the big struggle of Jon, is that he's not worthy. He knows his place is bastardy, and he doesn't want to. He has no desire to usurp Robb's rights to Winterfell, Catelyn's biggest fear. Take Winterfell away from him or Bran or Rickon or Sansa.
Right,
Jon doesn't want to. That's why he went to the Wall in the first place. And so it's this. Even in his musings of daydreaming about what he'd do with his super hot babe, it's all a lie. It's all fantasy, because he wouldn't take her into the Stone Crypts. Even if they got to Winterfell, he'd be too nah. Where she'd be like, "Oh, let's fucking go. That's cool," and he'd be like, I don't think I should."
Unless it played out the way she thinks, where she says, "Well, after the war, we could come back and live in this tower, this one right here."
After,
and he's like, "Well, first of all, this tower? What? No."
The romantic language, the after. The word was a spear thrust to Jon Snow. Ygritte is... I do think this is the most naive that Ygritte is in this entire chapter. And I wouldn't even call it naive. She's just not thinking about what does actually happen when the wildlings get south of the wall. Not many people in Westeros are going to accept that as okay, or
not without some kind of ambassador that's built up the trust of the nation.
And there isn't at this point. Not the way they want to do it. Mance Rayder isn't going to be treating with the High Lords. They're going to just try to shit all over them first and foremost and kill them all. And so it's this after is such a loaded phrase right here for all of them, especially considering the circumstances surrounding it. There's a war coming between the wildlings and the Wall right now. We've read the whole series, so we know how it turns out. And Ygritte, there really is a small chance of an after for
It
you
is
two.
funny that she's talking about coming back and living here afterwards when that's exactly what they're going to be able to do, the wildlings, is live in the gift and populate the new gift and all of that. He starts thinking, Jon, about how there was a time where Benjen and Ned were working on a deal with the wall to where they could take back ownership, and Ned would start populating these lands again with Stark people, lordlings, raised lordlings to live in these castles. I don't know if it's here where Jon thinks I could have been one of those lords in, when that time came.
Right.
If winter came faster and ended sooner, because according to Ned, that was a dream for spring.
It's a dream for spring. Fuck you, Ned Stark.
Dude,
Still
Ned
taking
Stark
us
predicting
to
the
school.
fucking book 3
Still
books early.
taking us to school. Yeah, I like it because Jon says still ruminating on the after the war, after the conquest, after the wildlings break the wall. I just think conquest is a very interesting word to use there. As we know, Aegon's conquest is what settled the Targaryen dynasty here in Westeros and started the lineage that we're still dealing with the effects of. And so, it's just an interesting word, conquest, considering it's revolving around Jon Snow, a Targaryen, and all of the
Aegon history.
Right, hey.
So, she asks what happened to them, and he tells her that they were driven off by your raiders.
He says Lord Eddard is dead, Benjen lost, and the shield that they had dreamt together would never be forged. I think Jon's wrong there.
Well, he forges it.
Right. He starts to, and then he's murdered.
And then he's murdered.
But I think, as do one of our readers, which we'll get to, or our listeners in the small council we'll get to, believes that not only is this not foreshadowing, this is what will happen. Ned and Benjen's shield will be made, and it's gonna be the wildlings. They're gonna settle here and populate the new gift and be the new lords and ladies of this area, and chances are likely that it's going to be Jon Snow who makes this all happen, because that's what he was working towards in Dance before he gets killed. And then, as we all know, Jon Snow's fucking coming back, and so the new gift being settled may likely be something that we see in A Dream of Spring, as Ned Stark called it. But yeah, they continue saying that.
So
Ygritte asks, like, why'd they all abandon it? Like, what?
Because y'all raiders.
Because wildlings suck.
Well,
John
then
says
they're weak. Then, like, why would they?
They should have fought.
Off?
They should have stayed. They're
And
cowards.
She says that because I forget what leads into it, but she yells at him that they came and stole the whole world. The kings when they came and conquered, they put up a wall and decided this land is ours, and this is ours, and that's ours.
Yeah, because Jon says, like, well, maybe they were just tired of fighting, so they left. Right. And she's like, we wouldn't be fighting you if you didn't put up your big fucking wall, motherfucker.
She said, the gods made the world for all men to share. Then kings came and required all their bullshit and split it and divided it.
You call us thieves, but at least a thief has to be brave and clever and quick. A kneeler only has to kneel. And, like, this is where he's like, oh, well, what if you were taken by a man you didn't want? Yeah. And she's like, I'd fight him off. I'd fucking cut his eyes out. I'd throw water on him if he didn't pay. Jon keeps trying to ask all these things, which Jon isn't getting the message here of Westeros is systematically keeping women weak, brah. Because, yes, Ygritte has an answer for everything you're saying. She wouldn't allow someone...
A weak guy wouldn't be able to steal me.
Right.
And if a strong guy did, then I'd learn to like him. If he beat me, I'd fight him off.
Or fuck him
kill
up.
Him
right.
Until he stopped.
Like,
if he tried to rape me,
and Jon, the way Jon's raised in Westeros, is like, no, that's not okay. That's perfectly fucking fine. If a man's gonna fucking go up and assault Ygritte has every fucking right to cut his nuts off and feed them to him. Absolutely. And Jon is so conditioned by the way it is that he's not recognizing here. The lesson here isn't that Ygritte is wild, which is what he goes to. I forget how wild she is. It's that women are fucking oppressed in Westeros. They're not allowed to fight back. And wildlings, it's encouraged, it's accepted. Who's gonna fucking stop people like Ygritte from fighting back? And Val and Dala, these badass wildling women. So it's just, Jon isn't getting the message here. The system is broken in Westeros. That's the fucking issue here. You keep trying to, what if it's a man you don't like stealing you? Well, then I'll fuck him up. Like,
and she says finally, a man can own a woman or a man can own a knife.
Yeah.
But no man can own both.
I hate that line.
Yeah.
I really hate that line.
And I think that's the submissive part of the wildlings, where it's, he's strong, he can beat me into submission. Whereas the Westerosi, the Sansas, are like, no, I don't care how strong he is. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't think she's quite to that point yet. She's growing into that. No, strength doesn't matter. Like, stay the fuck off. You don't get, just because you can beat somebody up doesn't mean you can take me. Doesn't mean you own me. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, Jon thinks it's easy to forget how wild she actually is when he's lost in her eyes or in the red of her hair or in the lusciousness of her lips. But someone would say something, and suddenly he'd be reminded of the wall between their worlds. Which, again, the romantic language here of this is fucking tragedy here. Like, Jon Snow is in love.
This is straight Romeo and Juliet.
And he can't have it. Right, they're star-crossed lovers. We literally get that with the constellations, that their constellations are fucking even mixed up and they can't get right. Because these two, based on these systems that they come from, are not meant to be together. They're not supposed to be together. It can't work. And that's what everything is working toward, is working against them. And that was Mance's intent with setting up the, two hearts that beat as one, and leaning into that was to put Jon in this position anyway. Right. And it's fucked up. It's sad because these two never had a chance. Even as strong-willed as Ygritte is, as heroic and good as Jon Snow is, that it never stood a fucking chance, these two, and it sucks because they're great for each other. They both enjoy each other, and if Jon could fucking just let go all the Ned Stark bullshit, let go all the bastardy, let go all the indoctrinated fucking chivalric bullshit, then they'd have a great relationship.
So, leading out of her, a man can own a woman or a knife, she says, and men can't own the land any more than they can the air or the sea or the skies. I mean, welcome to our world, but...
I mean, well, then you get men like Euron who are claiming that that's exactly what they intend to do. You kneelers think you own everything. Mance is going to show you otherwise. And Jon's like, yeah, that shit kind of rings hollow, my love. And he tells Ygritte, making sure that no one's around.
Mance can't... When he tries to, he's basically pleading with
Right,
her.
this is the run away with me. Like, get the message.
Win this war.
Wildlings fight with reckless courage, but in battle discipline beats valor every time. He'll fail as every king beyond the wall has failed, and when he does, you'll die.
And now I think we got some very similarly worded text from Tywin back when Tyrion showed up with the clansmen, way back when he was assigning them as the vanguard, and he didn't like that shit, that they're out there just to be cannon fodder. That's how they work.
Well, I mean, this is straight up like a Ned Stark lesson as well. Like, Jon has straight up ruminated on this before, that when he was first walking among their camps, that there's no ranks, there's no, orders, no spike fences set up, nothing. It's just kind of wanton lay where you lie. And he recalled that back then Ned saying that you can have as many numbers as you want, but if each man's out for his own personal glory, which the wildlings very much so are, then a disciplined army is going to cut through them easily. Right. And
he tells her, when he falls, all of you will fall.
All of you, and all of us, corrects him.
Yeah, right.
You are one of us. You ain't no crow. I made sure of it. I promised. I swore you weren't. So she shoves him up against a tree.
You better fucking not be.
You are mine as I am yours, and if we die, we die. All men must. All men must die, Jon Snow. But first, we live. And his voice is heavy. Yes, first we live.
Justice. First we live.
And Jon flexes his hand and wonders what Ygritte would do if she knew his heart. And he wants to tell her, wants so badly to tell her.
This kid barely knows his fucking heart. Go fuck yourself,
But
Jon.
he can't risk it, as too much depends on his return to Castle Black. They descended the wall at the abandoned Greyguard, and from there Styr had led them into the Gift to avoid the routine wall patrols. They saw no signs of other men, only uninhabited villages.
Right.
Jon recalls the half-hands words quite a lot through all this. Do not balk, ride with them, fight with them, eat with them. But still, the wildlings don't fucking trust him. Which, I mean, Jon, you've been with them, like, a couple months at most.
Right.
So, like, why really would they be all up in your shit? But he said he thinks that there's still this line he hasn't crossed yet.
Right.
Which is spilling a brother's blood.
Right. And he keeps saying a brother's, but I think he means anybody south of the wall, clearly. Any innocent blood is where he's kind of at.
Yeah, for sure. He's attributing it to the Night's Watch vows, but it's very much so what he was just taught by Ned Stark type of thing.
Right.
That wildlings are bad, the Night's Watch is honor and valor, and innocent people don't deserve to die. And yeah, it's all kind of rolled up into one now, knowing especially that the wildlings are fucking people.
And that's what's fun is that, not for the wildlings, but we spent a lot of time at the wall with Jon and traveling with the Night's Watch and up at the Fist of the First Men. There's a lot of shitty people in the Night's Watch. We spent half as much time, but we spent time now traveling with the wildlings, getting to know Tormund and that group, and hearing the Giants' song, and, we've gotten to know these people. They're better people than a majority of the men on the Night's Watch.
I mean, women are free to choose who they want to sleep with and have a relationship with, and what they want to do, if they want to be a spear wife, if they want to be a warrior. Right. Like, already more fucking progressive. Tormund Giantsbane. I remember I made a big deal about it when he basically told Jon, once a fucking woman gets pregnant, the man doesn't have a say. Like, even wildlings know that it's a woman's body. Like, that type of shit. Right. It's ridiculous that they're considered savages. They're just culturally different. No. And so...
Yeah, among the questioning, did you talk about the questioning? Did you bring the questioning up when Jon gets summoned?
Well, no, because he thinks this, once I shed a brother's blood, I am lost.
He is lost.
I cross the wall for good then, and there is no crossing back, which, parallelogram time, it reminds me of Dany's, if I look back, I am lost. If I slay a brother, I'm lost, or an innocent. But if I give in to sort of the wildling nature of just wanton slaughter,
which foreshadowing, she's all about I'll kill if I need to kill to prove a point. While she justifies it typically, she's out there just fucking killing, where he's doing everything he can. But then we'll go on to slaughter a bunch of wildlings.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting because, as far as I can recall, up to his death and dance, Jon hasn't yet shed a brother's blood. But he was just killed by all of his brothers in the Night's Watch, basically.
Right.
So when he comes back, he spared Janos Slynt. That blood he did draw. He drew Janos Slynt because he beheaded him instead of giving him the noose, because Ned Stark's teachings. But I guess that could count. But just, is it, that sort of lost? Like, when he comes back, that he's going to be, it's just Jon. It's Jon. There's lots of interesting foreshadowing with Jon.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun with his thoughts there, because we also know from the latest Arya chapters how coming back affects the mind.
Right.
You lose pasts and focus your memories on certain details and aspects of your goals and ambitions instead of who you were and why you had those aspirations. But
yeah, the wildlings don't trust him. The Magnarr has summoned him at the end of every day's march and questioned him about Castle Black's defenses.
And unfortunately, they're not stupid wildlings,
right.
These ones.
So he lied where he could,
but it's not often, because they would call him out if he was making up too much.
And the truth is, shit, Castle Black has no defenses, save the wall itself. Castle is being kind to call it that. It doesn't have any walls or defenses on the south side. And the old bear took nearly 200 on his ranging. Had any returned? Fuck all if Jon knows. And we know that, no, they made it to Craster's, and then the rest, the good ones, had to flee. So are just now starting to begin kind of pouring in from Craster's. And so that's a shit show and a half. But he thinks that Castle Black's defenders would be Blind Maester Aemon and his steward Cleitus, Donald Noy, Septon Celador, Deaf Dick Follard, Three-Finger Hob, Sir Winton Stout, and Halder, Toad, Pip, Albert, and the other boys that had trained with Jon.
Boys.
Bowen Marsh would have command.
Bowen.
Which,
Oof.
we learned that Ed had taken to calling the old pomegranate because he looked like a fucking no pomegranates. You know?
Yeah, dude.
And so, I'm just going to read this little passage here that I really like it.
I'll allow it.
If the Magnarr takes Castle Black unawares, it will be red slaughter, boys butchered in their beds before they know they are under attack. Jon had to warn them, but how? He was never sent out to forage or hunt, nor allowed to stand a watch alone. And he feared for Ygritte as well. He could not take her, but if he left her, would the Magnarr make her answer for his treachery? 2 hearts that beat as one. So, I just like how brutal Jon is. It's going to be wanton slaughter. There are no defenses. It's almost like raiding a one of these villages in the gift. It's not the big, strong, scary Night's Watch. It's
right. Well, their defense is on the other side.
A bunch of cold old men huddling behind a wall.
Right.
And there's some instances in the Wall's history of some younger boys being murdered at night in quite a creepy way, and it's just an very interesting passage that I really liked. But he sleeps every night with Ygritte at his side. She is both his joy and his despair, as he loves the smell of her hair and the feel of her titty and all of it. And then he wonders if this is how his father felt, laying with his mother.
Ooh! Nope.
Gross.
No. Also, you don't think about your father or mother like that.
Right.
But where was I going with this?
Ygritte set the trap.
Yeah, he starts thinking about how it's harder and harder every day as he gets to know each of the wildlings.
I don't want it.
On a more personal level. And I like he gives a little, bit about each one. Like, Greg wants to visit the green men on the Isle of Faces. Or is it Grog? Grig? Grig? Grig.
Grig?
I think it's Grig. Grig wants to visit Now, he specifically says the green men on the Isle of Faces, as opposed to the children. Do they call the green men children, or the green seers something different? Like, the way that is worded. No? Nothing?
Nah. I don't think there's really a difference. I think it's just different words for the same.
I want to hear the stories that he's heard to why he would want to go down there and visit,
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, does that mean that he thinks that there's green men down there but not up above, and he can't visit them up there? Or I want to get to know Greg, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting, what are the wildlings? What do you hear about the Isle of Faces? That's a nice little point, actually.
But Court is absolutely fucking taken by the castles, and again, the towers.
Court is 14 and had already stolen a wife and had a child on the way, which, fucking Jesus.
Damn kid.
And yeah, has taken as Ygritte with the watchtower, saying that, who knows, maybe his son is gonna grow up in one of these castles. That'd be fucking dope. Which, again, there's a wildling thinking that this will equate him to royalty. Just one of these round towers. Yeah. That's the level of difference here between the Westerosi society and the wildling, the free folk society.
Cavemen to...
Right, fucking...
city building.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's withholding technology to inherently keep a people back.
Right.
Jon wonders where Ghosty is. He's had no sense of him since
he left to climb the wall.
Yeah,
sent him on his way.
Not even in his dreams. It feels as if a part of him is cut off. He feels alone, even beside Ygritte, and he does not want to die alone. That's some dance.
He lost his Stark
That's
part.
dance foreshadowing right there. Thinking of Ghost and not wanting to die alone.
Right. And so he's calling out to Ghost and Arya. Poke him with the point.
Stop
Stick him
it.
with the pointy end. I butchered that.
Yeah,
for a
you
second.
did.
I went back and fixed it. So by the late afternoon, Lems was foretelling of a storm coming in, and as his mother was like a woods witch, he generally knew when the fucking weather was changing because fucking wood witches, man.
So yeah, it's pointed out that there's a village a couple miles away, and Steer's like, "Yep, we're going there." And it is dark when they reach the village, and the storm is raging now. And the village is beside a lake, mostly collapsed, and even the collapsed roofless inn must have been a welcome sight to travelers back in the day, which is an immediate 360 from how Bran sees it. An empty inn is a very sad thing to Bran, but
This
to
was
Jon,
a very welcoming sight.
respite, yeah, from a ranger of the wall type of perspective.
Now, I love how little attention and because it's such a quick thing, we know that they've seen a fuckload of towers on their way here already. They've passed little villages and other guard towers. So this one is just as uninteresting as the rest of them. They have no desire to go looking around inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so worried up in that tower that they're going to be spotted and heard out. And does it say that they hear ghosts or something screaming up there that is in this?
Yeah.
Briefly, but that's it. Like, and they're not going to go searching through the shit because they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, there's no shelter to be had in the village, and the scouts, Eric and Dell, return almost at once, and this is when Jon sees the glimmer of a fire. And he thinks we are not alone, and dread coiled in him like a snake, because this is the put up or shut up moment here for him, where we're encountering someone, most like someone's going to die here, and it's not going to be good, regardless of who it is.
Right.
So,
The scouts come back reporting that there's an old man, alone, just one, with a fire.
And a horse.
The
Thenns spread out, establishing a perimeter, and to make sure that no one else is in the village, the rest are crowded into the inn. Two of the Thenns had thrown the man to the ground and were going through his things. And Jon walks away. Steer will kill him, he thinks. Any kneelers were to be put to death immediately. That was the order that they were given, so that they can't raise the alarm for Castle Black. And
he wanders, man. He does the same thing that he did up at the Fist of the First Man, where he kind of circles the perimeter, just checking things out, and gets directed back into the inner circle.
Yeah, he thinks, must I stand mute while they slit an old man's throat? Which, I don't know, a little bit of a Jaime parallel there. Just kind of go away inside type of thing.
Right.
As Jaime had to do with Rickard Stark when he was burned. And, yeah, near the village edge, a Thenns guard is like, nah, get the fuck back. And get back where you belong, Jon interprets from his movements. And Jon then thinks, but where is that? Where do I belong?
Brooding beside a lake. Well, duh, in the middle of a storm.
I mean, your ass on the Iron Throne?
That is where Ygritte finds him. And he's just staring up at the tower. And he tells her, I think I know where we are. And he tells her to be watching up at the towers.
Jon also notes that I was right and that the holdfast has a grim, haunted look about it. So, score one for me. He agrees Queen's Crown is fucking haunted. And Ygritte's like, yeah, a couple of the men thought they heard some shit up there. But, yeah, they have some cute banter. And Jon tells her that they could walk to the tower. They wouldn't have to swim there. And Ygritte's like, nah. And so Jon tells of Alysanne and Silverwing and
Good Queen. If she was so good, she would have torn down that wall.
Hey!
Damn, Daniel.
I also believe it was Good Queen Alysanne who attempted to go even further, and Silverwing refused to go north of the wall. So, it may not have been Silverwing. It could have been a different dragon, but I know there was a Targaryen who wanted to go north further, and the dragon was like, fuck nah.
Yeah.
So
he explains what Queen's Crown is, and that she stayed a night here. Because at first Ygritte was like, oh, a queen lived here? No. She stayed the night here once, so they painted those things yellow.
Damn, that's some good paint, yo.
That's right? Like,
held up well. But he starts to bring up Tyrion, and then
friend.
a Thenn interrupts, Jon Snow, Magnarr want. And so Ygritte comes too, because fuck you, she does what she wants.
And he goes into the room, and Stig immediately tells him, kill the old man.
He must die. Do it, Crow. The old man said nothing, only stared at Jon standing amongst the wildlings. And Jon's like, he definitely can't see that my outfit's entirely black, right? I hope he doesn't know I'm a crow. And Jon draws Longclaw. Fire tracing a sullen orange line along its blade. Such a small fire to cost a man his life, Jon thinks. And he again recalls Corran's advice. Ride with them, hunt with them, eat with them, fight with them, hunt with them. Fire is life up here, but it can be death as well, Corran had said when they were in the Frostfangs. And that's what Jon thinks immediately, but that was in the Frostfangs. This is the fucking gift. Like, people should be safe to build a fire and not die for it.
And the man doesn't say a word throughout any of this while Jon is sitting there brooding.
Mercy, he might have said, or begged for his life, though no words would save him, and perhaps he knew that. So he held his tongue and looked at Jon in accusation and appeal. Corran's words again, but Jon thinks that this old man was just unlucky that we were here and happened to see him. Like, he didn't do anything. He doesn't deserve to die for stopping at this inn.
The man looks up at him and he says, I will fall into those eyes and drown. Yeah.
Magnarr is staring at him, too. So, the importance of Ned Stark's lesson. If you're going to sentence a man to death, you owe it to the man to look him in the eyes and hear his last words. And that's the effect. Jon is looking into this man's eyes and has no good reason to kill him. And he can't. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword, and Jon cannot cast judgment on this man who's literally done nothing wrong. And this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's Ned Stark's teachings. There is no reason that this old man has to die here, other than the wildlings hate the wall, hate the watch, and want to fight and want to get south. I know that's generalizing it, but to Jon right now, the wildlings are just savages who want to kill and want to rip the realm apart right now.
So he finally tries to stall a bit and reason with them. He's not doing anything. You guys were different when we killed you. You were soldiers. They were just camping by a fire, they said. And Ygritte gets pissed.
Well, he thinks the man is dead. What's it matter if it's my sword that slays him? One quick, clean cut, and this is Valyrian steel even, like ice. And then Jon recalls another killing. The head rolling, the brightness of the blood on the snow, and his father's sword, his father's words, his father's face.
Daddy?
I mean, it's just that. He's struggling here between being a Stark more than anything, not even a Night's Watchman, but this is a man of the North. This is a man of Eddard Stark's people that, like, they were meant to protect. And yeah, Ygritte's like, do it. Fucking do it.
And he doesn't.
And
so she does.
Magnar's like, yeah, no, I don't see any free folk here. I see a crow and his crow wife. And Ygritte's had enough, so she strides forward and opens the man's throat. And chaos.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
the Fen says something.
She flings the bloody blade at Jon's feet, which I like.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
This one is on you, according to her. The Magnarr says something, but thunder and lightning crash, and death leapt down upon them. What up, Bran?
What up, Summer?
So, what is this? Bran seeing Jon and, like, hearing the situation that they want him to kill the old man and see...
Well, we know he just warged into him. Like, he's in him at this point.
Right.
Unless he's being pulled out.
But we know that there's almost a filter on it, right? Because he sees one of the wildlings and says that he has the skin pulled up to make him blind and deaf. So, like, is he understanding the context here? That these are wildlings. Is he even able to pin that out? These wildlings want Jon Snow to kill this innocent man in Brandon's gift, and Jon's a member of the Night's Watch.
I think that Bran has come out of Summer often, or at least once or twice, explaining to Jojen and Mira what he saw, even though it was being interpreted from Summer's point of view.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that, even if not in the moment, he will be aware of exactly what occurred after.
I just think it's like, it's a bloody bold move of, like, goddamn, like, let's just fucking go for it. Bran doesn't know who these people are to Jon, like, you know, just from watching one scene.
I think that matters a lot less than anything else, because he also knows that this is a man of the North, and that he's probably based on their dressings and the way they're treating him.
Sure.
That they are wild.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Bran may be having some of his own Ned Stark's son, you know, feelings. But, like, yeah, I didn't know Bran's level of investment here. Is it literally just he's kind of picking up that Jon may be in trouble and wants to help him? Or
it could be
is
more
it
Summer
wildling,
intuition.
fucking innocent man in the gift, Night's Watchman? I understand this whole scenario and what they want.
Because we do know also that, you know, Jon was thinking about Ghost earlier, and so maybe he's also reaching, and, you know, Summer is connecting to
Well,
Jon,
that, I mean, we
because
did pose
know,
at the end of Bran that maybe he was feeling some of Jon's fear
well,
as
we
well.
do know that from Varamir, once a creature has been warged into, it's easy for somebody else to slip into that creature. So maybe not necessarily all of Jon slipping, but Summer knowing how Jon is feeling is the reason that Summer pulled the trigger there, seeing that all the tension between the wildlings and then Jon, oh fuck, like I'm dead right here.
So unless it's Summer hears what the Magnarr says, which is probably fucking kill the crow, like
right,
and because that's Jon just glimpses the hurtling shadow. The first then died as the old man did, with blood gushing from his torn throat. And there are curses, shouts, and howls of pain. Some of the men fall over. Ghost, Jon thinks. Ghost has jumped the wall, which, like, hey, diddle, Jon, fucking relax.
Yeah,
I think,
no kidding.
like, Ghost may find his way up into the mountains and, like, come over the wall that way. He's
he
not
doesn't just
fucking,
leap
woo!
over the whole fucking...
The cow jumped over the moon bullshit. And then he's like, nah, it's this wolf.
It's too gray.
One, the wolf on Dell's chest, which, like, poor Dell was around Jon's age, and so, like, a lot of life yet before him, is gray. And all at once, Jon Snow knew that he would never get another chance at escape. And so he cuts down a man, shoves past another, and slashed at a third as someone begins shouting his name. So, just like that.
He's killing people.
Killed a wildling, fucking shoves another one, slashes at a third. Like, he is full on back to Man of the Night's Watch. He has no trepidation. If I shed a brother's blood, I am lost.
No hesitation, right?
But a wildling
cleaving into this guy's calf,
right?
Yanking him, and I think when he gets yelled at right here is when he takes the arrow in his leg.
Oh, this is Ygritte saying, like, "Fuck you, Jon Snow. You know nothing."
And he manages to grab a hold of the horse and pull himself up, one-handed, while wielding his sword in the other.
Yeah, Bodger grabs his foot and ankle and catches Longclaw to the face for it, which just explodes in a gush of blood. And then they're running. And it's all Jon can do to stay on, but the gods are with him, and the horse does not stumble in the dark, rainy thunder and lightning. And hours later...
So, and maybe you haven't thought about it, he's able to do all that because he's Lyanna's son.
Lyanna's son and a Targaryen?
Lyanna is the most known for her horse riding skills.
Because he has no idea how he grabbed this horse one-handed.
Because your mother was a fucking pro, and it runs directly in your blood. Mm-hmm. You are a master horseman just because of that. And then, the Targaryen, look at Dany's freedom with the horse and you know, the riding.
And I mean, this in itself is a heroic, like, moment. Like, most people would freeze here. A hurtling shadow. It's a fucking wolf that Jon thinks is his and then realizes it isn't.
But I'm okay.
And then still has to, like, I need to go. I need to go now. And so, like, the ability to recognize that in that moment and keep his cool, keep his composure, and actually do it. Like, yeah, Jon Snow is made of a fucking thicker cloth than most men are. And he's just, you know, angsty teenager as well. And it sucks because teenagers suck.
Later, he finds himself alone in a sea of tall, dark grass. That gave me a lot of vibes from the Dothraki Sea and the Ghost Grass, but...
And Dany at the end of Dance.
The reverse, yeah.
He sees an arrow in the back of his thigh, and he's like, when did that get there?
How did that happen?
And tries to recall the madness of the inn, but only recalls the beast, a direwolf. Robb? In the north? Jon dismounts, knowing that the arrow has to come out, and tries to tug it out, but it's too good in the meat, so he has to shove it forward.
Oh.
Yeah. and manages to stay conscious through it all, though the pain is excruciating. He gets the arrow pushed through the front of his thigh, and after just kind of lays there bleeding, but then realizes, I have to move or I'm going to die. I believe, again, that Dany has a pretty similar thought when blood and diarrhea shit is running down her thighs at the end of Dance. And he moves himself to a stream, cleans up, and binds the wound, and then remounts, noting that the horse is just over there grazing, which thank God, because he would not be able to chase it. And he searches for the ice dragon in the sky. Again,
taking that imagery, the constellation.
His constellation,
right?
Yeah.
No more
the ice dragon, back to the wall. Like, here we go. It's back to fucking business. Here's the 9 to 5. Here we go.
He's
punching
going home.
in. I'm going home.
But if that were true, why does he feel so hollow? Because of foreshadowing.
He rode for Castle Black, and he rode until dawn, the stars staring down upon him like eyes. Hey, those looking stars that like to fucking watch, because they were also watching Jaime Lannister.
Perverts.
Getting his
bathhouse on.
Getting his fuckery on with Vargo Hoat. No, it wasn't bathhouse.
That,
it was like in his bullshit, because he was gross and what wretched creature am I.
Mm-hmm.
That's Jon, folks. That's Jon.
That's Queen's Crown.
He's heading back to the wall. We have one more wall chapter, like, next, and then it's, like, the Battle of Castle Black.
I think Jon has the most chapters left in the book.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe Jaime.
I've begun my counting of them to start, because we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
And then next is going to be...
Well,
Dany,
we're going to go ahead and, convene our
get
small
our
council and start doing this wrap-up.
I had something to say
You're
about
getting
Dany.
fucking ahead of yourself. Relax.
We'll get into the small council. Thanks. Bye.
The lightning flash left Jon night-blind, but he glimpsed the hurtling shadow half a heartbeat before he heard the shriek. The first then died as the old man had, blood gushing from his torn throat. Then the light was gone, and the shape was sprinting away, snarling, and another man went down in the dark. There were curses, shouts, howls of pain. Jon saw Big Boyle stumble backwards and knock down 3 men behind him. Ghost, he thought for one mad instant. Ghost leapt the wall. Then the lightning turned night to day, and he saw the wolf standing on Dell's chest, blood running black from his jaws. Gray. He's gray. What up, Sums?
Summer. No, it's Greywind, dude. He magically flew all the way up here from the neck, and there he is. Yay.
Similar to people believing that Stannis' banners in the north will be Bobby B. Bobby B. You got an inductee for this Jon chapter.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to the wildlings that died in this chapter. The ones that were...
Pour one out.
Yeah,
for
just
Dell
and all the good ones that that Jon was getting to know before he stabbed them all in the back. Well, because fuck Stig, and because he's a son of a bitch. Steer? Did I say Stig?
Yeah.
Stig, whatever. That guy too. Fuck them both. So yeah, all the wildlings that died this chapter that we didn't get to really know as well as even Jon did.
Yeah, we've got the first casualties of this war, of the Battle of Castle Black, right here in the gift. And
good job, Jon.
Yeah, it is all Jon Snow's fault, because he's a pile of garbage.
Yeah. Your inductee, dude?
My inductee... I'm trying to find where I noted it. Because...
Oh, my God.
No, mainly just for one small reason. There it is, yeah. Is Court. Because Court is 14... And that motherfucker already has a wife and a baby on the way. Like,
yeah, man. He needs some help. Apparently he doesn't.
Nah, he's fucking got it, dude. He's fine. He's like, look at that tower. That one? My baby is growing up in that tower. That's the tower my baby's growing up in. So Court, because hopefully he made it out, man. He's got wife and baby coming. He's got to protect them through the long night.
Yeah.
So Court.
Nice.
He can bring the kid.
And
the lady.
Yeah, you give him a night out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So we did get some inductees as well from listeners. I have Erica's right here ready to go. Initially was worried about having chosen an uninspired one by using the point of view or the one she chose, and I disagree. Just because they're
Same.
the point of view doesn't mean that it's uninspired. That they have their point of views for a reason. They get the cool shit. So anyway, she decided to induct Summer because something really interesting has happened here, and it was set off by the appearance of the direwolf. Jon is in an impossible situation here. He has to convince the wildlings he's already one of them. He has to follow the order of his superior, who commanded him to do whatever is asked of him by the wildlings. He also has to consider Ygritte and his struggle between duty and love. So in this situation, everything points to he should kill the man. But how could he kill an innocent? And I love that at this very moment, a creature appears who reminds him of his roots, his family, and the morals his father had taught him. His connection to his family and to the wolves is still so strong that this gives him the strength to step up, kill the wildlings, and flee, even if it means he has to betray and leave Ygritte. All of this is really fucked up and sad, but Summer's appearance and help were crucial so he could survive and get out of the situation. I love that these kids don't only have a strong connection to their own wolves, but the other wolves as well. They are all a pack, and they need each other to survive. It comes full circle, and it's really beautiful. Cheers. See you later. Erica from Hungary.
The
Thank
pack
you.
survives.
The pack, dude. I just picture, Vin Diesel coming in.
Stop. Jesus.
Family.
So, also got Kristen here
Yes.
with an email, and Kristen also agrees that it's not even foreshadowing. A dream for spring at our shield is something that will be re-happening. The gift will be repopulated in Dream. And she also wanted to note that the all men must die, Ygritte saying that is interesting. The fact that there isn't any sort of wildling play on it. It's exactly the same as Valar Morghulis as it's stated in the rest of the world. And doesn't seem to be any cultural difference there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of questions I want to interject that Kristen had mentioned about reading the Spanish version versus the English, but it's also there in the English version.
And and I think she's actually onto something here because we talked about the constellations being different. These differences are specifically brought up, yet all men must die is still the phrase even in the North. Is that so? She asks here perhaps something old Valyria got passed down and maybe touched something in the North, and I don't think that's crazy because that is a good catch and an interesting point.
I know there's theories out there that Westeros and the whole world used to be very Pangea. It was all interconnected, and so when it broke out, that technically there are wildlings that probably were from the same areas as the Valyrians, and so it's not crazy to think their languages would be similar and carried over.
She also thinks it's interesting that Summer is personified as death, obviously bringing death being the big bloodthirsty killing machine, but also kind of being personified as a sort of Grim Reaper figure, considering the others are supposed to be the death personification of this story.
Also similar, the wolf pack down in the Riverlands, Arya's wolf pack in Nymeria is very death, running around, watching over everything down in that area.
Right.
So it's neat that the wolves are...
And so for this chapter, she's going to induct Ygritte for delivering the awesome line, "If we have to die, we'll die, but first we'll live." It's cheesy, but I love how representative it is of her as a character and her relationship with Jon. I agree.
I think that it's even less cheesy than we think coming from her because she's so purely meaning.
It's that romantic language that George is using, especially heavy-handed in this chapter between these two. This is a tragic romance that is going to end in even more tragedy here in a couple chapters. And so, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Erica,
and everyone who comments to us and writes in, even if it isn't inductees, on Twitter and everywhere else. Twitter is where I can be found at Manners Without, and Zach is at Carstark92. We have our Patreon, which we have currently early access to episodes. We have our Dunk and Egg episodes going. Next one's coming soon. Patreon.com/withoutmanners. We can be emailed withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. That's where all these inductees came from. Facebook.com/BrotherhoodPodcast is the Facebook group. You can go to the website and get links to all these places at BrotherhoodWithout.com. Rate us, review us everywhere that it's good and grand because we appreciate that. We're on YouTube. Like and subscribe. All that stuff.
Next episode, we're going to be reading Daenerys 4 in A Storm of Swords, which means that Daenerys is going to be treating with some of the Yunkai slave traders and some of the sellswords, and we're going to be meeting Dario Naharis.
Dario Naharis.
Yeah.
Do we have one chapter left after that of Dany, or is that? Do you recall?
Dany. Let me pull up my quick little counter here,
His little notes and see.
Jon. Jon, yes, has a lot. Dany, we have 3 more chapters of Dany.
So this
left.
one and then 2 more.
Yeah.
And then after that is our Superman Spreader event.
Superman Spreader event with Chloe from Girls Gone
Canon.
Canon, and it's fantastic, and we're really excited to get that out to you. Of course, if you're on Patreon, you've been able to listen to that for a good while now.
Yep.
But
it's coming out in the next week or 2.
So send us your Dany 4 inductees, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Vala de Harris.
Peace.